The CPM growth that we're seeing in the last 2 years, I think, has basically accelerated what we believe would be more like a decade's worth of CPM growth had SKAdNetwork not been introduced.
Are you getting a lot of voice spam lately? How about text spam? I'm getting a ton of that lately from people I don't know. They're asking me if I had a great day, if I need a friend, if I know what happened to their package, all that stuff. Welcome to Mobile Heroes Uncensored. My name is John Couture. Our co-host is Peggy and Salson. Today we're chatting about spam, voice spam, which is bad enough, text spam, which is becoming an epidemic. And we're chatting with a mobile marketer who has a solution who can make it all go away. Peggy, who is she?
Oh, wouldn't that be grand, John? But we're very close today because we have with us Giulia Porter. She's VP of Marketing at RoboKiller, which is owned by Teltech Systems. And that is the app that eliminates spam calls and texts. And Giulia is a mobile growth leader, passionate about performance marketing, branding, and data science at her company. Interestingly, she's also the daughter of a lobster fisherman. And so I can't resist the opportunity to fish for some answers around how we can get, how to do it. Yes. Fishing for answers about how to get new value out of old marketing channels. Here with Giulia. Welcome, Giulia.
Hey, Peggy. Hi, John. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. We'll probably have a few more cheesy jokes, but I mean, I'm looking at RoboKiller. I was thinking SKAdNet 1, or point 1 or something like that. Not quite. You were a mobile hero way back in 2020. Peggy and I just chatted with, Fantasy from Call of Duty Mobile. And he was like so pumped about being a mobile hero. It was like one of his life's ambitions. Has your life changed since you became a mobile hero?
A lot has changed since 2020. I'd say being a mobile hero could be included in that for sure. It was a great experience overall, and glad to be here again.
Excellent.
It's one of those life-changing events since 2020, John, is what she's telling us.
Just one of them, exactly. COVID, becoming a mobile hero, hey, it's all at the same level.
There you go. Well, we talked about RoboKiller just a little bit, but let's just zoom back out to talk about the differences between marketing an app like RoboKiller versus, say, a game or a banking app or some other type of app. What are the differences there?
The main difference is that RoboKiller is a subscription service. So in order to use the service, you do need to pay for a subscription. We offer a number of different options for people and then do offer a 7-day free trial to test out the services. So in terms of just your objectives in mobile app actions and the audience profile that you're targeting can be a little bit different. So really, it's the marketing funnel up until the point of monetization. And then, of course, there's different monetization models with ad revenue, which we don't really focus on, versus subscription revenue, which is way more obviously retention focused and getting people to continue to come back and pay us each month or each year, depending on the plan.
It's also interesting, right? Because in a lot of cases, like if you're marketing a game, you're hitting the entertainment segment, right? It's fun. And whereas you're hitting a pain point. Right? A pain point of annoyance, a pain point of, well, that really sucks. A pain point of, I pick up my phone and, one of those again, right? No, it's not my significant other. It's some rando from some obviously different area code. That's got to be a bit of a change too, as well, right?
Yeah, great point. It is so funny. I know everyone talks about the difference between subscription apps and gaming apps or ad monetized apps, but every single app category still has a little bit of a nuanced difference to each of them. And RoboKiller is in the utilities category. And so, our goal, of course, past getting people a subscription is to stay useful, right, to people, which can be challenging, especially because in RoboKiller's instance, some people sometimes get a lot of spam calls, and then some people other times don't get a lot of spam calls. And so what value are you providing in between kind of those ebbs and flows really matters, of course, in the amount of money that you make per user. And so that's always been, a unique challenge, I think, in the utilities category, especially for a recurring subscription service.
That is a challenge, right? I mean, not only to continue to be helpful, but also to continue to let people know in subtle and non-annoying ways that you are being helpful, right? How many spam calls you disabled, how many spam texts you got rid of, all that stuff in your case, and different things for different utilities. Well,
Yes.
there's additional challenges, as everybody in mobile marketing knows, in the past few years. Well, past couple years, especially the past year, with SKAdNetwork on iOS. How's that changed your growth tactics?
I think first and foremost, just SKAdNetwork is absolutely, I think many marketers would agree that SKAdNetwork has accelerated both for iOS and Android, just the cost of advertising. The CPM growth that we're seeing in the last 2 years, I think has basically accelerated what we believe would be more like a decade's worth of CPM growth had SKAdNetwork not been introduced. It just takes a lot more to be playing in the same spaces. And so, that's obviously come with a lot of unique challenges that it seems like every mobile marketer is facing these days.
That is interesting. Accelerated by 10 years. So what you're saying is that the costs are significantly higher. Have you done anything like maybe gone to the web? I mean, we were recently chatting with somebody who moved to the web, and it was like, they said it was a 50% discount on advertising there. But of course, there's its own challenges, right?
I think what a lot of people don't totally think of is that web is not unscathed from SKAdNetwork as well. Before SKAdNetwork, a lot of our web traffic was on mobile devices, which were people using, desktop apps on their phone. They also have to prompt for app tracking transparency, which is, basically SKAdNetwork, obviously. So, your web performance isn't unscathed. It is a little less competitive from what we're seeing out there. And it is part of our marketing strategy. I wouldn't say, it's anywhere up there with apps in terms of kind of revenue performance. But I think what we're finding is initially we were like, oh yeah, there's web. And then I think as we started peeling layers back to SKAdNetwork operations, we were like, oh wait, our web traffic's 70% mobile. And that means there's no IDFA there either. So yeah, it's been unfortunate.
True. But you can capture a cookie, and then you can also do some interesting things on a landing page. Yeah, some places, exactly. Maybe it's a mobile browser inside an app as well, wrapped inside Facebook.
Yeah, but what we're finding there too, I think on the cookie front, outside of obviously cookie consent, is the rise of privacy-focused browsers that, are trying to get rid of cookies in their own way as well. Tracking in general is just overall more complicated, which we've accepted. I think now we're just trying to kind of play in the new world and try to figure out how we can manage our customer acquisition costs while, keeping revenue moving in the right direction.
Interesting.
Let's talk about that new world, because you have to think of your tactics. You have to change your tactics. What about the channels and changing those? You have to find new people to use your product constantly. Where have you looked?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. That would be the point.
The first thing that we found in SKAdNetwork when that first came out is, of course, most mobile marketers, particularly subscription services, but also other apps, gaming, everywhere, we're focused on in-app events for campaign optimization. Obviously, SKAdNetwork was designed to significantly slow down the amount of signals campaigns were getting in a given time frame, and that really matters for campaign optimization. And so what we were seeing was just scale for the channels that were very easy to kind of toggle up and down when we needed to from a revenue standpoint became much different in terms of turnaround times there. And so really what we started looking at is, of course, where are we currently operating? What is that doing? What are we able to do moving forward in these channels? And then starting to think about, okay, if we can't get X amount of scale, on Google Ads, for example, where else might we get that? And so, we started looking at, of course, kind of that next tier of self-reported ads networks, SANS partners on digital. And then we've previewed this, but we've started to actually look outside of digital and start thinking about, how can we bring a mobile approach to more traditional methods of advertising? So looking at traditional TV buying, of course, CTV and OTT connected TV is super hot. So, that's on the list as well, but also channels like direct mail, which has been really interesting. And so that's been a new and exciting challenge really in the last 12 or so months for us, where we've gotten to kind of reinvent how we do performance marketing on some kind of traditional offline channels and bring a mobile touch to that.
Going forward by going backward a little bit, TV, print, direct mail, they're having a moment. That's clear. But how are you approaching them to just make these old channels a bit more new, a bit more sort of mobile focused than they have been? Because you're combining that, but how?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, the approach that we've taken is just keeping the performance marketing element alive, right? I think when marketers that are specifically experienced in digital think about TV ads, they think about big branded Nike campaigns and that it needs to have this aspirational message and you don't need calls to action and, just show people living their lives, like that type of stuff. What we found is that you don't need that in those channels. You can still bring a direct response approach to exactly the way marketers, particularly in mobile, have been treating digital for a while, which is, I believe, one of the reasons digital's been so effective for mobile marketers to date, outside of course, all of the previous optimizations you could make with the SKAdNetwork. And so first and foremost, just bringing that direct response approach to channels like TV, channels like direct mail, where you don't need to have a big, sexy message and you don't need to be Nike. You can still show in your creatives the app experience and pretty standard problem solution messaging and see great response rates. And so that's been a really interesting finding for us. And it's kind of held true across all of these new traditional channels that we're working with. And so that's been a great finding. Of course, there's fun things that we've been doing that have mobile touches to them. So for example, in direct mail, we're obviously offering QR codes in those so that people can scan on their phone and then actually just open the app with a link in the app stores, of course. So trying to think about, okay, this is what this used to look like. Most people are taking a look at old ads and seeing, okay, those are getting direct to the website. How can we get more people into the app stores directly? What do we show visually, et cetera? How do we design our calls to action to do that? So I think that's been a fun challenge for us recently.
We have to pause here a second, Peggy, because this is a bit of a moment. This is a bit of a sea change, right? Just think about this from the perspective of 18 months ago. Maybe 24 months ago, but even 18 months ago. I mean, you had IDFA, you had GAID, and you basically ran your campaigns, and it was very trackable. You had cohorts that lasted for months and months and months, quarters, years. You had all kinds of in-app events. You could report in-app events back to platforms, all this stuff, real-time optimization. Now, not only do you have to learn SKAdNetwork, which is challenging, and frankly, most companies, most brands, most mobile marketers don't 100% get how to actually maximize the data value you can get out of there. GAID is going away. It's been promised that it's going away. Google will probably delay it a few times, just like the third-party cookie, but it's going away, right? And like Giulia's doing here, she's exploring direct mail, she's exploring QR codes, she's exploring TV. And so she's got to figure out SKAdNetwork, a whole new way of measuring on mobile. She's got to figure out measurement on a bunch of different platforms. And then somehow she's got to take that whole ball of wax and collapse it down to one thing that you can say, hey, you know what? We're winning or we're losing. This is not easy.
It is not easy, I can tell you that. I'd say one thing kind of within that, it's a really good point, John. I think looking into traditional has helped us do is actually uncomplicate some of our mobile attribution. Previously when you had all of the features that you were describing in mobile marketing prior to the last 2 years, it was easy to make your mobile attribution very complicated very quickly, where you're getting down to like the creative level performance, which of course was really valuable for marketing campaigns. We've moved away from trying to figure out every single SKAdNetwork value in our conversion results, frankly. We're just finding that, the concept of an organic conversion, especially with the way that we receive attribution data these days, basically doesn't exist, right? Or, of course, there are always going to be organic conversions, but trying to track down that granular level single conversion isn't working for us. And frankly, it's not a great use of our time. So what we've more moved to as we've adopted more of these immeasurable channels like TV, like direct mail, certainly there's ways to get partial attribution like promo codes, QR codes, et cetera. But we've moved away from that and just started looking at like our blended performance of just how many marketing dollars did we spend this month? How many actions did we drive that we were targeting? What's the total cost on that? Is that increasing or decreasing based on what we've changed in our portfolio this month? And that's just given us a lot more freedom. I've talked to a lot of marketers who are killing themselves over trying to restore what once was. And my advice to them is just stop wasting your time.
Next thing, Peggy will be having 3 martini lunches again.
Yeah, really. This is Mad Men all over again. We'll just say it's toasted and we'll be done.
That sort of sounds a bit media mix modeling-ish.
We haven't
Julia?
gotten there yet either. I think we're kind of enjoying a moment of uncomplicated attribution. We might be heading in that direction. I know there's been some chatter there across the industry, but right now we're just kind of enjoying the uncomplication of being able to look at just total trial signups, total spend, what's the margin on that, and making tweaks to what we know. Of course, we're changing in a given month and seeing what that does. Of course, it's not as accurate, but I think our thinking is just we're not going back to that world. So what's the sense of trying to recreate it?
That is so smart. I mean, just think about that, John, just straight at you, enjoying uncomplicated attribution.
I think our data scientists would probably disagree with me.
Trademark that. Uncomplicated attribution. There we go.
I'm still just getting my head around that, actually.
Media mix modeling is very interesting. I think personally, it's something we might explore in the near future. I think at some point it will make sense to kind of, if this is the new world and it's not going away, there's always benefit in trying to go deeper in your attribution modeling. We certainly have attribution frameworks. I'm not saying that, we don't. But, in terms of really what the business is measured on, we're really looking at our overall performance. But of course, as we add more of these channels into the mix, like TV, like direct mail that are kind of always on campaigns, we do understand that's going to get more complicated, that these channels are doing quite well for us. So, they're not going away anytime soon. And so I think one thing that's interesting too is in these types of networks, the targeting that you have available is better in a lot of instances where direct mail, you can target specific households with specific age ranges if you really want to go in that direction. And I think a lot of people don't realize that still exists in those worlds to a degree. Of course, everything's not as accurate these days, but there's just a little bit more control in that way. And through some uplift analysis and stuff that we're doing for certain tests, we're seeing LTV differences in those channels in a positive way. And so that's a good sign that we might still be able to continue to improve margin here. And of course, do think media mix modeling can help with that in the future for sure.
Yes, we're talking about the old channels becoming new again, back to basics, uncomplicated attribution. I'm going to keep that one in mind. There's a t-shirt, there's a franchise in that actually, John. But let's look at the new channels, Giulia. TikTok. I read it. I saw it. Pretty cool. RoboKiller going viral on TikTok with 20 million views. Tell us about that video. Tell us about that whole experience.
It caught us quite off guard. We just had a lot of installs one day and we were like, where is this coming from? It took a while to track it down. We didn't really have a presence on TikTok outside of some, TikTok ads testing we've been doing. And just through a couple searches across every single social media platform, we did find that someone had just posted about an experience they had with RoboKiller. RoboKiller has a unique feature that if you want, we will intercept your spam calls and play funny recordings that will trick telemarketers into thinking they're talking to someone when it's just a bot that has this hilarious scenario. So the TikToker who posted had a funny interaction where a telemarketer who had called him got our bot that is Area 51, and she thought that she had called Area 51 and they were trying to trace her phone number. So it was a very funny skit that had played out and it got a lot of love on TikTok. Obviously, I think, that's definitely a TikTok piece of content. So glad it got on there. And yeah, it's been really interesting to kind of ride that wave. Have seen, of course, some other brands. Haven't seen a lot of mobile apps get to that level on virality, which, certainly we're lucky and grateful for. But, in terms of control over that certainly was not anything.
Julia, you just made every mobile marketer who's struggling in the trenches, trying to increase downloads like 0.1%, absolutely hate you. You just woke up one morning and boom, downloads are through the roof. And what happened? Oh, so nice. It's amazing.
I would like to offer an alternate perspective on that, where now I'm getting questions on that. So you're better off having not experienced that, because of course virality is virality because it is uncontrollable.
Here's the good alternate explanation. The good alternate explanation is one that Peggy and I have been actually hearing about a little bit, and that is product-led growth. And that is having the foresight and the creativity and the insight and the sense of humor to take a risk and put something in your app that is kind of funky, kind of fun, kind of interesting, kind of cool. And you know what? Somebody found it and did something cool with it, and you guys were the beneficiary. So that's pretty awesome.
Yes, definitely. To your point on product-led growth, I mean, I definitely know that's a big topic of conversation. Really, post SKAdNetwork was a big topic of conversation at MAU this year, where product-led growth is definitely part of the solution to the future of mobile. I like the touch that you added, John, on sense of humor, because I think obviously to be on TikTok, you should have a sense of humor, and trying to think about how you can incorporate that, and of course, just frameworks for product-led growth overall. But having a little fun with it too, I think, is a nice point as well.
I'm just thinking the whole time, Giulia. Now, what do you do for an encore?
I know what you do for an encore. I know what you do for an encore, Giulia. You get a bunch of funky, cool B-list celebrities, maybe comedians, to do some more of those scripts for you in response. Oh, I mean, they get, I don't know, some good comedians to do something. That'd be amazing.
Yes. Yeah, that's something we're exploring. We do have an iced tea answer bot. We've done that kind of here and there. Of course, we don't have budgets like, I think, Calm and Headspace that are doing a lot more talent, which is quite impressive in terms of who they're featuring in their apps for guided meditations. Would love to be able to do that for sure. Obviously, there are some crazy costs associated to that type of talent, but it's definitely something we're exploring now.
So your example shows paid and organic really work well together. I'd like you to walk us through what works and the metrics you need to watch to know that you are on the money.
Definitely. So yeah, in terms of our approach to just monitoring performance on a monthly basis, of course, we're looking at, our spend mix, right? We do try to isolate, particularly in traditional channels. If we're launching a direct mail test, we're trying to hold off on any sort of other testing kind of in that same offline bucket, so that if we do see signals like increases in installs, increases in our subscription signups, we can kind of understand, okay, it's very, very likely that came from this new direct mail campaign test, for example. And so we are trying to make sure there's not too much overlap in terms of the new things that we're adding on top of kind of our core, both digital and traditional performance. So we're able to see signals of uplift largely. And of course, we're looking at, just traffic volume within that and what the costs are. So we're looking at, of course, our upper funnel metrics. So, what are the impression costs there? So CPM. Of course, how that's kind of converting into installs. So how many installs are we generating? Again, like I said, we're looking at uplift there too to see, okay, well, this many people were like that much more interested in downloading our app, and that's a good signal. And of course, there's a cost profile to that, cost per install. And then we're taking one step further and looking at our trial uplifts. That's kind of where marketing ends, and we're handing it off to product to go out and convert those trials to subscriptions. And of course, we're looking at directionally and knowing that attribution is not perfect. Okay, how much of our trials kind of came from our core stuff, like how much is Google, how much is Facebook, how much is Apple Search. In addition to that, based on anything else new we're doing that we're seeing uplift outside of, or sometimes when we run things on TV, we see an uplift in Apple Search ads because people are searching in the app stores. So it's helpful to kind of look granularly and then big picture. And then, of course, like I said, there's a cost profile to those cost per trials that we're looking at as well.
Love it. Okay. This has been amazing. We have to come to a close. 2 quick questions for you with 2 brief answers. First one, what's your top tip for growth in a privacy-centric ecosystem?
I would say first, focus on first party. I think we're calling it first party demographic data, or just first party understanding of your users. I don't want to call it first party attribution data because it's not. I think the other real challenge with SKAdNetwork and privacy moving forward is the information that we'll be getting just on our aggregate audience of understanding, okay, we ran this Facebook campaign and this many people between the ages of, X and X saw this ad, right? Like a lot of that's going away. And so, in order to be a good marketer, you need to understand who you're marketing to. And I think one thing that I'm encouraging marketers to do is really figure out a way to get that. You can still get that through your user base. It's just you have to do it a little more traditionally where, surveying and maybe customer interviews are on the horizon. But making sure that with privacy, that's getting lost. But there are ways to make sure that doesn't get lost with working with, your product teams, your UX surveying teams, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. And Peggy and I have heard that from a bunch of people who are super amazing data-driven marketers, that they're doing some surveying of their customers. Yeah. gentle touch, easy, 1, 2, 3 questions, not a big deal, not a heavy lift, but just doing some surveying. And it's so old school in some sense, but it's also sometimes your best data. Okay, second and last brief question. What is your least censored opinion about anything in the mobile marketing world?
Oh, wow. That's a little broad. Stop tracking down SKAdNetwork values. Yeah, I think I already mentioned that, but my advice to marketers these days is you're not going to get it back to accuracy that it once was. So just look at aggregate. It's not worth your time.
No, move on. That's what you're saying.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Giulia. This has been a true pleasure, and really do appreciate the insights.
Thanks so much for having me.
I have to do a +1 here, Giulia. There are so many good tips and advice in this show. If marketers are smart, John, they're just going to listen, make notes, get their transcript. I don't know, but this is one to write down.
Absolutely. And guess what? There's a full transcript on the Mobile Heroes Uncensored website, so it's easy to search. Thank you again, Giulia. It's been great having you.
Thank you.
And thank you to all listeners. We really do appreciate you. Hope you're enjoying it. Let us know on social if you are.
And let us know if you want to come and we'll have you on the show. If you're a mobile hero or you know of someone who is, then fill out the interest form over at shorturl.at/JKSKT.
Also, Liftoff has a Slack for mobile heroes and people in the mobile ecosystem. There's a link on the screen, and if you're listening to the podcast, it's at info.liftoff.io/Slack-signup. It's pretty cool. There's smart people there, and you know what? They probably need you too.
And you have probably been completely blown away by all the insights on this show, and you want your transcript, and you can have it because the transcripts are over at Liftoff's website. Go to liftoff.io, click on Heroes, and then click on Podcast.
I actually personally love transcripts because I read way faster than people talk. So that's a great way to get insights really, really quickly. Until next time, this is John Katsir. Thank you so much for joining.
And this is Peggy Ann Saltz signing off for Mobile Heroes Uncensored.